Dearest beloved divine friends, brothers, sisters, this is in the raw. RKs Guyana Free Media. And I'm your host, Haji Dr. Roshan Khan. I'm just thinking of so many things in our country, ladies and gentlemen. I'm seeing so many people from different countries having all the oil opportunities in Guyana. All the services, some people are bringing in security services, even water is being imported to supply ExxonMobil and the oil and gas, which is horrific and most painful. We have the Marara Distillers Limited. We have Banks DIH producing some of the finest waters in a country that has some of the finest waters, yet ExxonMobil. And I'm surprised that them and other companies are importing drinking water from Trinidad. This is hurtful, painful, and to us in Guyana, with the sweetest and most delicious waters, are not given any of these opportunities. People with machinery, equipment, everything coming in from Trinidad because they have the contacts, the connections. But we, the Guyanese people, few of us, if you're given the opportunity, we can procure machinery. We can get people with experience. But this is a sad thing because we are so damn unprepared for what is going on. But more about that, and I think President Dr. Mara Jagdeo has heard some of my concern and the concerns of others, and as I think he himself has made some very serious and critical comments on this matter. But first of all, today, I wish to give you a take on PEEPING TOM of the Kaiteure News of Monday, 30th, 2020. According to PEEPING TOM, the coalition's parties need an overhaul in leadership. I wish to concur with them, with him. The opposition, particularly the APNU, the AFC. Well, forget about the AFC. I really don't talk about them. They are washed out. The APNU, the PNC, needs a new core of heart-winning leadership. Not those who have been on the media causing tantrums and causing rapes and murders and beatings and lootings and burnings, and a repeat feel up and rapes and rapes and rapes of a particular ethnicity of Guyana by some of their supporters. But you need people who don't have just mouth and illicit ambition, and leaders who will go out and give people pluck to tell them that what they are doing is right, that they are on the right course, and then cover it up and say it's not an Indian or African thing, but really giving them pluck, telling them what they're doing is right. That man needs to go down in shame, and he has been trying to get everyone possible to fire me and destroy me, even when he was in power, try to destroy my business. But instead, they got destroyed. But ladies and gentlemen, let me go back to the coalition parties' need an overhaul in leadership. Recently, the British High Commissioner bid farewell to Guyana. He had initially said, then asked by his government to hold the fort until his successor was selected. He thus came back, but now has returned home. Greg Quinn was a master in diplomacy, and they tried, the coalition, I'm ashamed to say, to destroy his integrity because he was standing for democracy. The Honorable Greg Quinn. Back to the article. When a diplomat is scheduled to leave, it is normal for them to visit with both the head of state and the leader of the opposition. The British High Commissioner had bid farewell to the president. This was reported to the media, but there was no report of him bidding farewell to the leader of the opposition. Relations, of course, between the British High Commission and the APNU AFC were not at their best during the 5-month hiatus between the elections and the eventual declaration of the results of those elections. The British government was in the forefront of international efforts to scuttle the APNU AFC's attempt to be declared the winner by foul means. No, it was always highly unlikely that any of the Western diplomats who were scheduled to leave would have been paying any courtesy calls on the main opposition. Because, ladies and gentlemen, my commentary of the fact that the now opposition, then government, were doing everything to attack the United Kingdom and denigrate its history and its system. When it worked in their favor, it was fine. Same thing for the United States. The same for all the other countries that were involved. And everyone were bad, including yours truly. And they tried to use some psychos to protest against me and to try to put me in trouble, thinking that they will get me to be scuttled and nervous, not knowing that I'm a Pathan and a Kshatriya, that I'm mixed with the two great warrior clans, the bloodline of Hindustan. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the Pathan and I have the Kshatriya, and I don't buckle very easy. And so what they did, they tried to destroy me, but instead they have destroyed themselves and others. And then they tried to destroy what? They were going to war with the United Kingdom, little pygmies. They were going to war with the United States, with CARICOM, with the South American bloc of Spanish-speaking countries, with Brazil, with African, Pacific, African, Caribbean and Pacific nations. They were going to war with African Elders Group, the Mandela Elders Group, I beg your pardon, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody, the whole world, they were going to war with. Everybody was bad. And what they did, they put some nincompoops to try to go and protest and call my name like I'm going to run as if I am a nervous little twig. But we had to see that they had to run, and they became the nervous, despotic, desperate twig, I'm ashamed. And they have embarrassed and put the great People's National Congress to shame, disgrace, and degradation. My beloved, divine brothers and sisters, friends and family. And let me get back to the article, ladies and gentlemen. No, it was always highly unlikely that any of the Western diplomats who were scheduled to leave would have been paying any courtesy calls on the main opposition. Don't forget, they had their psychos overseas, and we know them, those psychos who are based in New York, and some of them in the basements, targeting the amazing American ambassador, targeting all those mighty and great persons in this country, representing their nations, including the Commonwealth group of countries, ladies and gentlemen. But there is a much more serious implication of the APNU and AFC action during the election model, according to PEEPING TOM. And I will ask Mr. Harmon not to get scared when he hears my voice, not to tremble when he hears my voice. I'm going to ask him that. He don't need to be afraid and to dream me and to call my name when I'm asleep, when he's asleep, and when I'm asleep. By my information from some of his closest associates, he dreams me even in office in daydreaming. He calls my name out of terror. Ladies and gentlemen. But there was much more implication for the APNU AFC actions during the election model. The APNU AFC was subject to international ostracism. Don't you understand that? Condemnation, attack, correction. Because of their role in undermining the democratic process As a consequence, travel sanctions were imposed by the United States of America on those who were believed to be complicit. They were also going to get financial penalties. Their monies would have been seized, their properties. It is widely suspected that persons within the leadership of the APNU and AFC would have had their visas revoked. They had them. Also, it is obvious from comments made from certain leaders of the Caribbean community that they want no dealings with persons who were complicit in the rigging of the elections. And so it is more than likely that regional and international leaders would not wish to be seen in the company or presence of certain persons within the APNU and the AFC. This great political party, which received independence from the British, ladies and gentlemen, to lead Guyana into the greatness, look what they have done to themselves. Is this right? Are they doing good to themselves and to the nation? What have they done to themselves? Any government in power needs a brilliant, dynamic, sharp opposition, not a bitter, a foe, a failure, so to say, in modern times. I think they can capture themselves. I'm not an enemy of the PNC. They have been my friends since Hugh Desmond Hoyt. And verily, if they can capture themselves and they can put the new leaders in authority and power who could win hearts and minds without ethnic hate and rivalries, they could recapture their place in respect in society and win the hearts and minds of the Guyanese people. Leaders. And so it is more than likely that regional and international leaders would not wish to be seen in their company. The APNU and AFC faces a credibility crisis. How does the leadership intend to restore their credibility when it is more than likely to be continued to be shunned by the international community? No foreign leader is likely to want to meet or request a meeting with the leadership of the APNU and AFC, given what took place in Guyana between March 4th, let me be precise, and August of this year, ladies and gentlemen. In other words, they have made the name of the party obnoxious. It is not necessarily obnoxious. Because I've always had some friends in the PNC and people that I looked up to. But something has happened to that party since Mr. Harman got senior positions in leadership of government. And even Mr. Granger did not listen to the words of the wise by men of simplicity who don't know very much, who is still a student in wisdom and philosophy. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, it is hard to see how effective the main opposition, APNU and AFC, can be without the capacity to interact with the international community. But the international community appears to be keeping its distance from the APNU and the AFC. The APNU-AFC won 31 seats in the March elections. It is a legitimate opposition, but it has a credibility problem because it is more than likely that travel restrictions have not been relaxed and are not likely to be relaxed given the serious concerns which were expressed over the coalition's actions during the election impasse. So they're in a state of degradation, friends and family, and even of shame. And how can they become a powerful and a credible political entity as strong and what you will refer to as the opposition party when they are shunned by the international community, so to say, beloved, divine friends and families? Michael Pompeo came to Guyana and did not pay a courtesy call on the opposition, which is really untrue because the opposition, now then government, became an obnoxious piece of instrument. The president of Suriname came to Guyana, and again there was no report of a courtesy call on the opposition. Nothing has been said so far as to whether the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Brazil paid a courtesy call on the main opposition. We have not seen anything in the media. If they did, they would want to have shown that up, because even Brazil had criticized their attempt to steal a nation. Friends and families, the PNCR and the AFC would have earned disrespect over their conduct after the elections. The elections showed that they lost support. It will be hard to regain that support unless there are sweeping changes to the leadership of the party. Of course. Who they will put? Shara Duncan? Christopher Jones? I'm not seeing anyone there really with the clout and the skill and the leadership, friends and families, ladies and gentlemen, and the power and the vocabulary other than those with hate and bitterness and corrupt behavior, deceit, gluttony for ill-gotten wealth, dishonesty, thievery, as we have seen come out recently, and someone with a lot of mouth had to face the courts. And you know who I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about. I don't even need to mention his name, even though there's nothing to fear over using his name, for it is all over the news. Friends and brothers and sisters, I'm smartly doing a little exercise, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, as I speak to you here on this, the RKs Guyana free media in the raw. The only way in which the image and reputation of the APNO and AFC can be renovated is through an overhaul of the leadership of both the PNCR and the AFC. I say the PNCR need to expunge the AFC from its bosom, whom it has given 9 seats. I think the PNC has been too kind to the AFC. I think the PNC leadership is just they have too good a heart to have given the AFC 9 free seats. So they're not as bad as some people might think, because the AFC did not even bring a third of 1 seat to Parliament, ladies and gentlemen. Not even a third of 1 seat, my dear beloved divine friends and families. But strange as it may seem, there appears no acceptance of this need. The same old leadership is in place and is attempting now to be critical of the incumbent government. And not only that, with an aim to see if they could bring down the government through foul means. But no one listens to them, including their own supporters, my beloved divine friends and families. But strange as it may seem, the same old leadership is in place. Whatever they say, though, is going to be boomerang against them, because fingers are going to be pointed in their direction over what took place between March 4th and August of this year. There are some things in life which you cannot reverse. And the attempts at undermining the election are going to haunt those who try to benefit from the insidious attempt to pervert its course. Once the present leadership of the APNO and AFC remains in place, the PPC is going to have a walkover in any election. And I would like to use the word a cakewalk over any elections, because I can see as a commentator one who tries to think that they are winning the hearts and minds of those people, providing service and gifts to the supporters of the opposition to such a level that even their own hearts No matter how much they love them, many will stay with them, but many will cross the line for better service and greater love. And to end, ladies and gentlemen, once the present leadership of the APNU remains in place, the PPPC is going to have a walkover, and I say cakewalk. Once the APNU-AFC opens its mouth, the PPC is going to point to the coalition actions during the election impasse. And people, including international donors, will simply continue to shun the main opposition. These are the words of PEEPING Tom. But why does Mr. Harmon is so much afraid of my words and my personality? And all I'm doing is giving a reading, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what I've been doing all the time. Is doing a simple, easy, cool readings of certain articles. So next time, ladies and gentlemen, I want to read the part where Vice President Dr. Bara Jagdeo is insisting that Guyanese must have the first opportunity at employment and at service. And something has to be done with the provision of water. I like to see our own companies, Demerara Distillers Limited, Banks DIH, and other powerful companies being given an opportunity, friends and families, to provide water, juices, and other such things that we manufacture from our own right here in this country. It's very unfair. I'm a friend of ExxonMobil and the investors, but I want a fair share for Guyana and for the Guyanese people. Your friend, your brother, me, Haji, Dr. Roshan Khan, saying thank you for joining in, and really, farewell, French.